When I was reading to prepare for this interview, I was quite surprised to see you use the word Aborigines talking about African Americans.
You know, I've dealt with that issue. I've already, talked publicly about that.
And my purpose here today is to say that I'm very sorry, and I apologize to anyone whose feelings were hurt by my comment.
I've made very, very clear I don't know where that comment comes from.
Well, from your subconscious.
Well, I guess. I mean, it's not even a normal thing anyone would say, even if you meant something in a negative fashion. I don't know if you would pull that out.
Peace, family. Up in this presentation, you just heard the senator. He calls blacks Aborigines, Black Americans Aborigines, and then apologized for it because it was a backlash. But it was actually a Freudian slip, and it shows the state that the African American community is in, that they don't even know their history, that they would make a deal out of it and make him apologize when the word actually fits. So the definition of an Aborigine is a person, animal, or plant that has been in a country or region from earliest times. Now, my theory is this senator has been in some conversations where he knows who the early inhabitants of America is, but he definitely knows who the earliest inhabitants of Alabama is. It says the term Aborigine or Aboriginal refers to a people that has inhabited a given region before colonization by a foreign power. So when we go look at Aboriginal and Aborigine, as long as your people was there before colonialism, which is European contact, because all contact with Europeans brought colonialization. So as long as you was there before that, your people are Aborigines. So he had a Freudian slip because he was telling blacks that they've been here before colonialization. He said not Native Americans, there wasn't Indians, but Aborigines. So he's saying that you didn't even really come from somewhere else that they can track down. So we go to some Alabama history. In the 16th century, the Native American leader, his name is derived from the Western Muskegon language elements Tuska and Lusa, which means black warrior. Also known by its different variations of it, Tuscaloosa, just different spellings. You got Tush and then you got Tusk. Just different ways that you spell it. He was a principal chief of the ancestral Choctaw and Creek Native American Confederacy who lived in a series of villages, mostly along the Acosa and Alabama River. So that's in Alabama. So when we go into this history of these people, know that the Muskegon tribe really got kicked out of these areas in Georgia, Alabama, into Florida, along with the Yamasees and the Uchis and different people, becoming what we would call the Florida Seminoles. It was a process of ethnogenesis. But the chief Tuscaloosa, they said it when Hernan de Soto seen them, because Hernan de Soto was a conquistador who first interacted with these people. And the chief was on a kind of balcony on a mound at one end of the square. His head, the almazal. So his headdress was like a Moor's, which gave him an aspect of authority. So we looking at Chief Tuscaloosa, whose name means black warrior. He also has on a Moorish headdress. This guy's from Spain. Him being from Spain would give him up close and personal interaction with these people called Moors. So he would know what a Moor looked like. He would know what an Azamal looked like. The state name. The state of Alabama was named after the river. The Alabama River was named by early European explorers, this is Hernan de Soto, after the Indian tribe that lived in the territory, and it first appeared in 1540, spelled as Alibamu or Alibamo or Limamu in the journals of the explorer Hernando de Soto. And if we look at the structures that'll be in this area, they're mound structures. Ali means high or elevated. That sometimes these rivers will flood, so these mound cultures will be built up on mounds So if it does flood, their house is elevated. But the naming of this Ali Bambu tribe, who had a leader, who had on a Moorish headdress, when we look at Ali, so the Soto knows this word because he just came from Moorish Spain. And we know this whole origin of these people leaving Europe started in 1492 when Columbus left. But on January 2nd, 1492, the leader of the last Muslim stronghold in Granada surrendered the armies of a recently united Christian Spain through the marriage of Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella of Castile, the Catholic monarchs. The Moorish inhabitants received no military aid and rescue from other Muslim nations because this was largely a black group. But when we look at Hernando de Soto's entourage, we can see that he had a black person with him who was a Moor, and when we look at Christopher Columbus coming over, he had a black person with him who was a Moor, because they needed us to get over here. But the main thing about is the Freudian slip of this senator by saying the African Americans are Aborigines, when we can prove that in his area alone that we had a black tribe in that area who had the Mayan culture, who had the Amazal on looking like a Moor, and whose name was literally Black Chief. And now they when they try to play and they say, oh, it don't really mean black. Black is just something else in the language. Then we can go amongst the Seminoles and see how many of them were called black warriors who was actually black warriors. But this is a Free Black Society presentation, family.